Hypatia, still an interesting read. We'll get back to Hypatia. There's a winter storm warning. And last winter, I had made 3 videos about New Jersey winters, and they've disappeared right off of my my file folders in the computer. But I'm not too worried because these are memory cards, as you probably are all familiar with them. So I have last winter's storms, the 3 storms, on the memory cards. But the only problem is I have hundreds of memory cards that are not labeled. My fault. I'm not blaming anyone. So it'll be a very long and hard process to go through all these memory cards and find last winter's storm. But that's okay because a new storm is coming. The storm is supposed to be fairly vicious. We'll listen to the radio and television to find out if they call it a blizzard. I'm not sure. Exactly what the definition of a blizzard is. But we'll find out. And we'll take a visit into the snow, like I did with the missing videos, and comment on the neighborhood deep in a New Jersey winter snowstorm. That is why one of the reasons, and I admit some of these things sound very silly, but please, I'm going back on my life experience. And a lot of people have commented on these things. These are not original with myself. And I don't claim to be original. But many people have commented that when the snow lies heavily on the ground, reality sort of shifts a little. The snow seems to dampen noises, acting like soundproofing, and you can hear sounds far, far away. One winter night, I took the family car and traveled all the way up to West Point Military Academy in the middle of winter. And I had a minor car accident in Yonkers, New York. The car spun around and slammed into a snowbank. Very scary because I didn't have anything to shovel the car out of the snowbank with. The car spun around on the ice. All I had was a pencil. I didn't even have any gloves. So here I am out in the middle of a suburban area trying to dig the front of the car out of a snow pile with a pencil. And the dogs were howling in the background. Yeah. Sound travels over long distances with snow on the ground. And this is not original with me, but there seems to be a slight reality shift that takes place when the snow falls heavy. Very strange indeed. I've showed you this book before by Dr. John C. Lilly. I've read most of his books. I think I've even showed you drawings from his books. These are from flotation tanks, isolation tanks floating in salt water. And this particular book, The Deep Self, I bought several copies of it because the book impressed me so much, because to me it shows the foundations of reality as no other book had done at the time. By being in a flotation tank, Dr. Lilly claims that the body becomes so still that it actually dreams its own reality. I think these pictures show you what Dr. Lilly meant. The mind actually creates a false reality, and allegedly, after floating in the salt water inside the tank, the reality becomes so real that when the door to the flotation tank is opened, the person actually is disoriented. They actually are confused for a few seconds about which is the real reality and which is the false reality. There is a lot of people who have deep mental problems who have the same confusion about what's real and what isn't real. There are people who take hallucinogenics who should not take them because their personality is not stable. The old saying of set and setting is very important, with one addendum that the personality has to be stable too. I heard a news story about ayahuasca. That is a tropical hallucinogenic, and I admit that many people nowadays do not like to use the word hallucinogenic. They like the word entheogen, meaning the God within us. And I'm perfectly willing to use that word, entheogen, but the word psychedelic comes to me naturally because I was brought up in that 1960s, early 1970s, before they became illegal. This is a book on ayahuasca and Executive's Enlightenment by Michael Sanders. The news story that was reported publicly said that someone had taken ayahuasca in Brazil and killed somebody. I don't know if I believe that. That's like saying that if I drank this soda, that there would be some reason for me to go out and kill somebody. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Either the person already had homicide on his or her mind and was a very unstable person and never should have been allowed to use an entheogen, or the news story is completely misleading and that something else had happened and the story is simply not true as reported, because the very term entheogen means the God within us, and it simply doesn't make any sense if it's thought out logically. That's like the story about a very popular person who had a daughter. As the historical report goes, she tried to fly out a window, actually like a bird, But the backstory now is that she was actually murdered, that she was pushed by somebody, which to me seems much more logical. Because the medical literature, as I understand it, that a person can override their LSD experiment if they know what's going on, of course. And entheogens have been used for thousands of years with very few reports of attempted homicide. There are other drugs, of course, like cocaine and opium, that are certainly leading to manslaughter, not only because they're addictive and the person wants more, or they're so confused by the illusion or delusion that they kill somebody thinking that that person is a threat to them, either because they fantasized that the person is not who they really are, but some kind of animal or creature or monster brought on by the hallucination, or they become extremely paranoid. But that usually only happens under threatening circumstance. That's why there should always be a doctor, a technician who knows what they're doing, a clinical technician who is certified. And people should not use these entheogens for recreation, but only for enlightenment and spiritual progress. And I know that's hard to say, because in our society, a cheap thrill comes in a bottle or a pill. But it's a very, very bad idea to use entheogens for recreation. We're going to have a snowstorm and a lot of shamanism and sacred landscapes. And I'm sorry, Chris, if I mispronounce your name. Triroga. Chris Tiroga. It's a very interesting book about shamanism. And a lot of the shamanism that's been studied the most is Siberian shamanism, though now we know for certain that Africa and South America and North America has had a long history of shamanism. But once again, the shaman does not use the entheogens for recreation. He or she uses them for enlightenment or for spiritual quest, for a spiritual journey, not for entertainment. I'm looking forward to The Green Man, The Quest for the Green Man by John Matthews. My allegiance goes to Gaia, Mother Earth. But as every flower has a stamen and a pistil, almost every flower. There are some androgynous flowers, by the way, and plants. Just as shaman sometimes take the characteristics of the other gender in sympathetic magic. I don't pretend to even begin to understand shamanism. I don't pretend to understand witchcraft or magic. But I believe it's out there, and I believe other people know more than I, and other people also practice magic and witchcraft. We'll investigate this more in the snow. We'll go out with the camera and video the falling snow and the changes to the environment, the magical and mystical changes that are brought about by a heavy snowfall. Thank you for watching this video, and have a good day. My grandmother used to say an old expression meaning the impossible. If pigs could fly, meaning that is something impossible. Ayahuasca and entheogens are not impossible. They're not recreational drugs. The backstory on ayahuasca is that it excites the bowels and the stomach, and I won't explain in detail how it causes the bowels to evacuate, and many people become nauseous and vomit. And I'm not talking about yellow or green mucus. I'm talking about the dry heaves where the person vomits and defecates until they feel totally empty. They defecate after taking ayahuasca, and they vomit. Heavy vomit. Heavy defecation. The shaman, as I've read and seen in videos, claim this is a purgative. This is to get rid of the mental and physical poisons that we have. And allegedly after the purging, the defecation and the vomit, the person is more receptive, more open to the spirits, the unseen world, and the visions. To me, a person would be extremely foolish, really a dumb idea, to take ayahuasca for the thrill. Vomiting and defecating to the point of feeling empty is no fun to me. And I certainly would not look forward to doing something like that. As my grandmother said, for the impossible. When pigs fly, that's an expression meaning things that are impossible. When pigs fly,